Welcome back to part 2 of the CD collection, 2020, June 14th or 15th. Shit, I don't even remember. Now, like I said in the last part, I'm going to be separating these two sections. 80s, authentic 80s bands right here on the middle shelf, and current bands on the bottom shelf. So there's going to be some overlap, 80s bands that are still releasing new albums, etc., etc. I'll figure out what I'm doing. So let's kind of just go pile by pile here, and first up on the list we have Broadcast by Cutting Crew. No, I Just Died in Your Arms Tonight, Life in a Dangerous Time. Who doesn't love some good old Cutting Crew? So, how do I want to do this? You know what, let's start over here. We'll start piling them up. That way, try to save room. Jace Pollack, Promise. I met Jason, however he goes, at at this Rock and Skull thing in 2016, where I bought the CD from him, and he signed it. Very nice of him. Very fun AOR melodic rock album from 2016. Outlasted Into the Night. They just released a second album a couple months ago, actually. That was a pretty fun one. This is their debut, also from 2016. Andrew McNeese helped release this one, Into the Night. I'm going to spread them out, so I'm not going to pile them, kind of go across. Heat, Address the Nation. My favorite Heat album. I think it's the best one. I mean, Living on the Run is on here, In and Out of Trouble. Downtown is a really moody, synthy song that I like. And it was their first album with Eric Gronwall, in my opinion, their best, Heat album. Sweet Mary Jane, Winter in Paradise. A pretty straightforward AOR album, but a lot of fun songs. I always remember the lead single, Fire in Your Eyes. Really cool. I think that's a one-album wonder there, unfortunately. Okay, now this was our first classic one. This one's from the mid-90s, but this is 2R1, A Question of Time, a reissue of it that came out a couple years ago. Songs such as A Question of Time, No More, Victim on the Run, He Broke My Wings on That Christmas Night. This is a really fun mid-90s kind of pop rock kind of album. Message, Outside Looking In. This is a late 90s, early 2000 this came out, from Escape Music, which is a good, consistent label. This is a fun one, albeit a little safe, nothing you haven't heard before elsewhere. I especially like song 11, Moment in Time. But no, that's a fun one. I got that at Melodic Rock Fest a couple years ago. Alright, let's put that. Station, More Than the Moon. This is their second album out of 3. In my opinion, it's their best one. More Than the Moon, I Won't Break Your Heart, Northern Sunset. Signed by all of them from Melodic Rock Fest 5. Great guys, great band. It's a new release of a bunch of unreleased 80s songs. Mark Baker, The Future Ain't What It Used to Be. Mark Free, Bill Champlin, a bunch of guys sing on these old demos that were never released. Cool one. Highly recommended. Tower City, A Little Bit of Fire. Very fun AOR album with the guy from the New Monkees on vocals, Larry. Of course, Danger, Danger, big cult rock album from 1989. Let's get naughty, naughty, or bang, bang, what's that sound? Ted Poley. I also really love the song Feels Like Love. Total commercial song, but hey, and how can you not forget that album cover? 101 South. This is produced by the guy Roger Scott Craig, who backed Fortune and Harlan Cage. Some really fun songs on here, such as Run Like a Tiger, Your Razor's Sharp, Live for the Moment. Cliff Magnus Solo. Great West Coast AOR album. Fortunately, I was not that big of a fan of the follow-up he did a couple years ago called Dirty Dog, or something Dog, I know was the title. The only album I own by Rainbow, Bent Out of Shape. And I know it's not one of their greatest, but I got this one because Street of Dreams is on it, and I love Street of Dreams, and I just wanted a physical copy. Never mind the implications that album cover will give you. Last World, this came out in 2019. Cool modern rock band. Love that cover by Nello Del Olmo. One of the best albums of the 80s. Charlie, if you like Survivor and Journey, it's like a perfect combination of the two of them. Every single song on this one is fantastic. I can't recommend that one highly enough. The Night Flight Orchestra, Aromantic. This one just came out earlier this year. I love the band already, but this album is great. It's worth it alone for Divinals, If Tonight Is Our Only Chance, and the amazing Transmissions, which features an awesome violin solo that goes on for like a minute and a half. Great, great album. Okay, starting this next pile. Platinum Blonde is one of my favorite bands from the 80s, but unfortunately, I only have their first two albums on vinyl. I need to get the CDs, but for the other two, I've got Contact, a little more of a groovy, kind of West Coast album almost, but some really great songs like Connect Me, a cover of the song Fire, If You Go This Time, Chaperone Sally is a pretty eccentric but a cool one. And then they rebranded for their fourth album and just called themselves The Blondes. This album is unfortunately pretty terrible. However, it has the song California Skies on it. And California Skies is one of the most amazing songs the band ever did. So it's just a shame this whole album couldn't have been on par with California Skies. Not many people know about that one either, since they did it under the Blondes and not under Platinum Blonde. I got these two demo CDs as Darren Chef demos featuring a bunch of unreleased songs. The best song on here is You Don't Know, which features Tim Feehan on vocals. Very West Coasty, very poppy, but it's not a bad set of demos. And Pete Golby, who was a singer for Uriah Heep in the 80s, I got this collection of demos called Hold the Dream. It's got 18 of his demos on there. Very commercial sounding stuff. It's a shame they're only demos and never got released. I love the song on there called This House. One of my favorite modern bands, Wild Rose. Half Past Midnight. Such a fun debut album. Dangerous. Again, David A. Saylor came in on vocals. AOR Heaven released this. Perfect album. Hit and Run. A lot of fun. And their latest album, 4. This is the Hellenic edition with the 2 bonus tracks. Love Wild Rose. Such a very consistent with their style and stuff. Same thing here. Prayer. I've got 2. I don't have the debut, but I have this second album, Danger in the Dark, which is fun as hell. And Silent Soldiers, which has a 14.5-minute long epic on it called Mystery Island that I cannot recommend high enough. It's worth it alone for that 14-minute long epic progressive song. I'm not really a prog rock guy, and this is not really a prog rock band, but that song, Mystery Island, is just great. And ironically enough, there's another song on here called Dead Dog, and it's one of the catchiest songs on here. You would not expect that out of a song called Dead Dog, but hey. And then this one, these albums all went, I don't have the debut, I still need to get the debut. It was a Frontiers Records project with Jolyn Turner on vocals called Sunstorm. I've got House of Dreams, the second album, and all of these are out of print, and all of these are expensive as hell to get online nowadays, so I was very lucky getting them when I did. House of Dreams, the second, I love that artwork, I love the songs. Don't Give Up, The Spirit Inside, Save a Place in Your Heart, House of Dreams, Fun stuff. Emotional Fire, a lot of Michael Bolton and Cher songs on this one, including the title track. Gina, the You Wouldn't Know Love is on here. I mean, come on. But Jolyn Turner does good. They rebranded and got a different producer and different musicians for these later two albums, more hard rock, with Edge of Tomorrow, which I do still like this album. The Road to Hell, I wasn't too big a fan of this one. It's just really, really raw and hard, and that's what she said, and that's why I never got into that one as much. I appreciate the AOR style a little bit more. And then some great friends of mine from Australia, the Radio Sun. I've met them on a few occasions when they were here in the United States. Great band, Outside Looking In, Unstoppable, and Beautiful Strange. Shout out to Steve Janevsky from that band, Australia. One of my favorite unsung heroes of the 80s, Glen Burtnik. One of my favorite albums of the 80s, Talking in Code. Every single song on here is great. I especially love Hole in My Pocket. Heroes and Zeros, not as good. The songs are a little bit more samey, but, still fun. He's got a great voice. And then Retrospectacle, which is a collection of unreleased songs from the two of those, which, again, are okay, nothing too groundbreaking, but, they're fun. So we'll put him in the 80s section there. A local band, Seventh Heaven. I've got two of them, USA UK, signed by all members of the band, and Pop Media. Very electronic and stuff, but hey, it's a fun listen. I definitely need to, I definitely need to get the dance media one they have, because I just feel like it'd be very fun compared to that. I got this from my good friend Robbie LeBlanc, who I do a lot of social media work for. It's an album he sang on called Fifth Piece of the Puzzle by Alan Friedman. Robert Palmer, Addictions. Right, we all know Robert Palmer from the 80s. Okay, got that up there. So, I don't have too huge of a Survivor collection right now. All I have are Premonition, the Rock Candy version, Vital Signs, and Too Hot to Sleep. I've got a few of their other ones on vinyl, too. So there's Survivor. These three melodic rock archival reissues by Artie Teasy, New York City, Back Again, and the Reaper Bond. Very eclectic group of songs, but they're pretty fun. Great guy Michael Palace, his band Palace, their debut, Master of the Universe. Very fun album. Love Master of the Universe. And then a little bit of a different spin for the second album, Binary Music, more poppy, more West Coast, and he basically went from being a band to being a one-man army with this. But for what it is, it's a lot of fun. Okay. Journey. I've got Escape, Frontiers, Raised on Radio, which was originally going to be called Freedom. I think it should have stayed that way, but Steve Perry kind of got in the way of that. Trial by Fire, Arrival, and a really, really good return to form with Revelation. So we're going to put Journey up in the classic area there. Rain Times, great friend of mine in Italy, Zorro Monti's behind this more modern AOR band from Italy. Alien, I still need to get their album Eternity. This is a 25-year anniversary 2-disc edition of the debut. I think we all remember the song Brave New Love from The Blob. So, great. I think that's out of print and hard to get to. Red Dawn, really fun, hard-edged AOR album. A lot of keyboards, a lot of very catchy choruses. One of my favorite album covers of all time. Seriously, how can you not love that? Two of my favorite projects from Escape Music, Intruder, Dangerous Nights. This is like textbook AOR, keyboard, catchy songs. Love Dangerous Nights. The follow-up, Believer, wasn't as good, but it's still okay. But Dangerous Nights, even if the opening song, Hearts on the Loose, was a very obvious ripoff of Jackie Don't Go by Survivor, I could still make do with it. Nitrate, Real World. Fun album by this band. They released their second album last year, Open Wide, which was also fun. Love the space astronaut cover to that. Lost and Found, Welcome to the Real World. Religious album from the 80s, but very nicely done, very well produced, very catchy. Heartbeat by Don Johnson. Hey, why not? Looking for a heartbeat. Slippery When Wet, that goes without saying. Very underrated Domino, Keep in Touch, with the amazing song Here I Am. Look up Here I Am by Domino. And then that's how I have this too, like this demos thing, Domino the Lost Radio Show. A little weird thing, but pick it up for the collection. Brian Cole, Sands of Time. That's a new one. Excuse me. Bootleg of this thing called Fury, Endangered Hearts. That's a fun pop rock, almost kind of new wavy AOR album from the 80s. Let's throw that up there. Same with this, Quarterback, Trampled Underfoot, featuring the great song Tumblin' Down. And I love that cover too. Anita Scorgan, Basic and White Magic, combined in one album. Fun female pop rock stuff. Both albums are great. Not sure how much of a household name Anita Scorgan is, but same thing with this female-run band, Misled, Gentle Persuasion. Mecca, a good friend of mine, Giovanna, here from Illinois, with Mecca 3. Very limited edition, rare CD now, as well as the Mecca demos. Lots of alternate versions of some fun songs. First Signal, One Step Over Line. It's okay. It's got a couple okay songs with Harry Hess singing on that. Ryan. That one's okay. I actually got that one for free because the seller sent me the wrong. The White Room by the KLF. Very fun 90s trance dance music. Les Nerds. This is an interesting punk rock type band from Canada. They do an awesome cover of You Spin Me Round Like a Record, though. So that alone kind of makes this one worth it. As weird as that may be to say. But Jimmy Davis and Junction, Going the Distance. Reissued, unreleased, previously second album by that band. Same thing with this, Ride the Storm by Don Barnes of 38 Special, previously unreleased album, 2 discs. Jeff Paris from the 80s, great rock album. American Tears Hardcore, this is keyboard music by Mark Mangold. Pretty interesting listen, to say the least. Alright guys, I think I'm going to end that here for part 2. Got a decent amount of the way done, and then when we come back we'll finish off part 3.